Hey everybody, and welcome to February's edition of Board Game Buys. This is where I talk about all of the games that I have acquired over the last month. I have 11 new games and expansions to talk about today, but before I do talk about these games and expansions, I want to give a shout out to the show sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer, and if you use the link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. But let's start off with Footprints. So I pre-ordered this game a little while ago, mostly based off the design team. This is Eilif Svensson, who's made tons of brilliant games, or at least had a part in them. This is with a different kind of design group. And this is kind of like a Euro with some hand management, a slight race aspect. And you are essentially trying to build up your little engine to increase your ability to navigate this map, picking up resources as you go, again improving your stats. I'm trying to race to the end to get some bonus points and complete these contracts. So only 30 to 60 minutes. I have played this a couple of times now. I'm going to hold back on my thoughts until the review, but this is one that has certainly kind of flowed under the radar in terms of coverage, and I'm surprised so, because again, Svensson is generally quite prolific and has a strong following. So when I heard that he was coming out with a new Euro-style game that's very light on the rules, can play in under an hour, then I was certainly all in and wanted to get it played. But yeah, please stay tuned for my thoughts on Footprints. Got a couple of Oink games now that were sent to me. The first of which being Dro Polter. Now, in fact, these are both dexterity types of games, and you might know that I'm not generally the biggest fan of dexterity games because I tend to like mechanisms over anything else. But these two, I thought I'd give them a try because Oink generally put out a high quality product, and these on paper are very silly games. Again, I'm going to hold back on my thoughts on them because I will be releasing content soon. But the first, Dro Polter, is basically a game where you're putting these strange little components into the palm of your hand, essentially. Like this, you can see there's quite random bits and bobs here, and you are trying to drop very certain things by only using the one hand. And if you're the first to get a number of these bells, then you'll be the winner. But every time you get a point, which are these bells, you have to add them to your hand as well, and you can end up inadvertently dropping those and losing points just by trying your best. The second of which is Rafter 5. This one's more of a traditional dexterity game, as you are placing these kind of little cardboard strips out and placing these little meeples on there to try and balance all these treasures and not drop your own, or try not to drop other players, because if you drop a certain amount of treasures, then you will be you'll lose the game essentially. But again, these won't take me long to cover on the channel, so I will be probably reviewing them both together because they are both dexterity Oink games, and I think it would be better to cover it like that. But yeah, that's Dro Polter and Rafter 5. Moving on then, we have the expansion to Capital Lux 2. Now, I wasn't even fully aware there was an expansion for Capital Lux 2, but KIENDA had it in stock, so I thought I'd give it a go, because Capital Lux 2 is one of my favourite games of all time. It just adds a couple more sets of cards for all the different types. Got 6 superpower cards, 6 kingdom cards, 5 postcards and rules. Again, I've not looked at these yet. This is still in the seal, but more content for your favourite games is always going to be a good thing, especially when you can just plug and play those different modules. Moving on then to Marabunta. So this is one of the latest Reiner Knizia designs. It's a 2-player only game, and it's described as a roll and divide, because this is essentially a roll and write game, but it does have an I split you choose mechanism where you're rolling a bunch of dice, and then the first player is going to divide those dice into 2 different groups. The other player will choose first and write numbers into this grid, which is essentially like an area control board, and you can block each other off. You can use these special powers that you're unlocking on your player board. Excited to share my thoughts about this one. Again, it's going to be right at the top of my priority in terms of getting review content out there. But when I heard that Knizia was coming out with a small box, 2-player only, I split you choose game that only takes around 30 minutes to play, again, that ticks so many boxes for me. So that is a Marabunta. I was sent a prototype copy of Awkward Guests 2, the Burwick cases. So Awkward Guests, the original, is one of my favourite deduction games of all time, probably my favourite deduction game at this point. This one is a 2-player only version of the game that will be coming to Kickstarter soon. I believe in April this one is going to be coming out. This one, it shares a lot of the same mechanisms as the original. The only differences here is the way that you choose the evidence that you want to kind of investigate. You're doing it through a dice system here. And I suppose the biggest difference is the actual setup of the game, because in the original you'd go through all these kind of decks of cards and you'd build a bespoke deck for the game you want to play. This one, you are basically creating the scenario for your opponent and they're doing the same for you. So if you want that extra kind of investment in terms of trying to trick your opponent, this one sounds cool. I've not played it yet. I just need to get my head around a few of the rules and setup changes. But, you know, anything that these guys put out, I'm certainly eager to play because they know how to do deduction correctly. So that is Awkward Guests 2, the Burwick cases. More 2-player only games now. This isn't deliberate, but I picked up a copy of Kirii the Jewel. Now this is a kind of a paper, rock, scissors style game where you are these two kind of dueling samurai. You're simultaneously selecting cards trying to kill your opponent, but you can move up, you can move, you can change your stance, you can go for the killing strikes, etc. And it's certainly a very clean and small game. The cards here are quite interesting if I can get them out. I don't think I can, but I will show you on a later video. They're kind of this, here we go, this plasticky material that feels like a credit card or something, which is quite interesting. So I'd like to see more of these. These are certainly going to hold up to tons of repeated plays. But, you know, a very clean system here. And again, it won't take me too long to get this one covered on the channel. I've not played it enough times yet to share my thoughts, so I do need to play it some more. But taking that simple concept, it's quite interesting how they've changed it to a head-to-head dueling style game. We have a reacquisition now with Notra Dam. This is one of, an older Stefan Feld game. I did used to have this one in my collection. I've always enjoyed it, but I think I might have played it too much too soon and ended up getting slightly fatigued with it and moving on from the game. But I've recently had a bit of an itch to get this one back to the table. I kind of want to have all my favourite Feld games in my collection because I think he's the best designer out there. And yeah, so I'm quite looking forward to get this one back to the table. I did pick this up mainly because I got it for such a reasonable price. So I thought that, you know what, it's not going to hurt me to pick this one up, because even if I do get reminded as to why I parted with it in the first place, then I'm certainly not going to be hit financially. So yeah, this one, a lot of people love this one, and I also thought it was good. I enjoyed the game, but I did think it was up there with his best. But as a few years have passed since I played this one, maybe my perspective would have changed. So that is Notra Dam. 3 more now, the first of which is an expansion, and it is the Siege expansion to Warchest. Now, Warchest is one of my favourite games of all time at this point. I talk about it on the channel all the time. I already have the first expansion, the Nobility expansion, which I think is amazing, and the second one, Siege, is all about siege weaponry and fortifications. So you are essentially going to have the option to build these kind of castles now, put them on the map, and they're going to require an extra hit in order to break them down. So you can kind of turtle in there if you are certain units, especially like archers and stuff. That's going to be very useful to use. And obviously, to counteract the extra protection, you are going to have these siege units, which are very powerful. In order to use their benefits, you need to have them bolstered in the first place. I've not tried it at all yet. I'm very keen to do so. Especially like the look of this trebuchet, because I think it shoots several spaces away, which is quite quite an advantage to have in a game like this, because range is very powerful. So yeah, very excited to try more Siege, and again, more content for your favourite games is never going to be a bad thing. 2 more now, the first of which being Raise. I have already covered this on the channel to some extent. It was on a recent ranking video, and it came right at the top of that video, so I'm not shy to share my thoughts about how good I think this game is. A as clear as a hidden gem as there could be. It's basically a bidding and bluffing style game, as you're using these cards to climb up this track. But every card you play could potentially go to your opponent if they end up getting a stronger result than you. Again, I have already recorded my review of this one. I've just not uploaded it yet. But from my ranking video, you probably know how much I like it, because I think it is a tremendous little filler game. So that is Raise. And the final game I'm talking about is another game that I have just released a review for. This is Leaf. So Leaf is a family gateway level game. It's a tile placement game, but the tiles are these very interesting leaf shapes. We're placing them on the table, and every kind of tip of these leaves that you touch other leaves with will give you actions. Those actions will let you collect cards, climb tracks, etc. In my review, I talked about how much I love this leaf system, but I think all the mini games are a bit too basic for me. But still, I can certainly sing this game's praise, because I think there's going to be a huge market for it if people knew about it, because it's a very nice game. It's just not one that's essentially right for me right now, because it's a bit too gateway level. But that is Leaf. So that's it. That's all the games that I have acquired. Hopefully something here has piqued your interest. We've got some, again, hidden gems there with Raise, some expansions to favourite games, some gateway games, old Euro games, and even some upcoming games such as, Awkward Guests 2, and new Euro games as well, like Footprints. So a good range of games here to sink my teeth into, and I'm looking forward to covering these in more detail on the channel. If you have enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe, and for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.